Hey everybody, welcome back to RPG Review. I'm Cass with College of Lore.
I am the Penitent with College of Lore.
Today we are talking to you about a tabletop RPG that we're reviewing, hence the name of this series of videos, which is RPG Review. So if you couldn't tell from the title and what we just talked about,
It's not called Local Zoo Review.
we're reviewing a tabletop RPG. How many times do you think I can say that before people click off this video because they're mad at me?
Let's not find out.
Let's not find out. Alright, what game are we reviewing today?
Today we are reviewing the second edition of Pathfinder.
Pathfinder.
We are finding a path.
We're finding a path toward YouTube fame by reviewing this game. Hopefully. Yeah, so tell me about Pathfinder. We're just gonna kind of cut into it. I'm not gonna annoy our viewers too much.
So, Pathfinder is a tabletop role-playing game.
No way! I didn't know what I'm talking about here.
It is a branch off of 3.5
Yes.
D&D, which is
where it started.
the 3.5 edition of D&D.
That's definitely how that works.
Um,
That's math.
excuse me one second here. I lost my place in my notes.
Oh no.
So yeah, it was modeled after 3.5, and it's kind of expanded out from there. You can see the roots in it still. You can honestly see some more roots than 5e.
I've never played 3.5e. Now I kind of want to try it, though. We should try that sometime. Anyway, Pathfinder. Originally based off 3.5e, they made some changes. They had some complaints. They made some changes. I guess they were satisfied with it because they published it.
It's kind of like Lutheranism. Oh, that's a bad analogy.
Okay. I don't even know what that means. I don't go there. Use a different analogy.
It's kind of like when a church splits into sects. Sometimes, so 3.5 was one of the more beloved systems.
Yeah.
And 4e was probably one of the most hated.
Yep.
So this is kind of an alternative of Pathfinder 1e and 2e has continued to be to the what D&D was becoming, and even still, Pathfinder fans to this day will say it captures more of the spirit of what they wanted of an RPG, which is their prerogative.
Yeah, they're allowed to do whatever they want. They made it and they published it, so clearly they were happy with it.
Yeah.
Who is they? Who made this game?
It was designed by a team of people, led by a Jason Buhlman. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
I have no idea. I didn't read a pronunciation for it.
And it was produced by Paizo Publishing.
Okay.
Which,
Yeah, cool.
Don't know a ton about them, don't know as much as I know about Wizards.
So, this one's kind of similar to D&D in a lot of aspects. Obviously, it was modeled after D&D, so I'm going to kind of assume that, like we talked about in the 5e review, it's as cooperative as you want it to be.
Yeah.
Does that still hold?
It does. I might argue that some of the mechanics honestly push you in a way of it being more cooperative.
Okay, interesting.
There is a lot of crunch to it, a lot more than D&D.
Yeah. That was my next question. Do those mechanics make it crunchier?
You know, in the same way that 3.5 is crunchier and less streamlined than 5e,
Is Pathfinder worse?
Pathfinder...
We're continuing downhill on a stream of crunchiness.
Yeah, because 5e is significantly less crunchy than 3.5. Pathfinder is, I would say, about the same level of crunch, for at least for a player, as 3.5.
Okay.
I would say that it somehow got more and less crunchy between volumes, if that makes any sense?
Yeah,
in addition to the books.
Yeah.
Probably more crunchy on the DM's behalf, but probably slightly less crunchy on the players.
Okay. Yeah, when I was reading about it, it said that they, tried to streamline some more of the more complicated mechanics.
Yeah.
And since this is similar to D&D, I'm also going to assume it's also in the same way as it's cooperative as you want it to be, kind of a little bit light and dark as you want it to be.
Yeah. Where it sits on the... It does tend to, at least from what I know of some of the modules for it, and the player base, it does tend to lead more dark.
Okay.
it tends to lean more combat-oriented than I've seen most D&D games.
I guess if you got all those cool combat rules, you may as well use them.
Yeah, that's basically the idea behind it. That being said, it doesn't have to be, and it doesn't... It's not that it doesn't let you roleplay.
Yeah.
But it seems more a tool for combat for kind of a... I don't want to say, like, power gamer in a bad sense.
Yeah.
But for someone who enjoys that type of game.
Yeah, that was definitely what I got the one time I tried to make a character,
Yes.
which I will talk about a little bit later, but... It definitely seemed like there were a lot more options to make your character really, really optimized.
Yes.
Than there are in at least 5e.
It follows, if you come from 5e, you can understand that it is, you know, fantasy races, fantasy classes, most of the classes match up.
Yeah. They added a lot more stuff to them,
Yes.
though.
And if you can really see 3.5 roots if you played 3.5 at all,
Yeah.
which we should probably do an RPG review on 3.5.
We should do an RPG review on 3.5. You've played 3.5,
I have. We should play 3.5 on the channel.
We should. That'd be fun. We should do that sometime.
Let us know if you want to see, like, maybe, like, 4-hour one-shots.
Yeah, in any of these systems.
Of these systems, we're willing to do them.
Yeah.
We have an actual play channel.
Which is where we would upload them, yeah.
Like here, that's where we upload our actual play of 5e. Actual plays of 5e.
And if we get enough interest, maybe we can do a third game.
Yeah, we're not sure exactly what we're doing with our D&D stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of it's up in the air, but I think that we are always open to changing things up and always open to, you know, if someone wants to see, like, hey, you know, if there's significant interest, and I might put a poll in the description.
Yeah.
In Pathfinder 2e.
Yeah.
You know, if you want a long-form 5e campaign and a long-form Pathfinder campaign...
We could switch that up.
We'll do that. Or if you want a long-form 5e campaign, but also one-shots based on interesting RPGs. Again, I will kill someone to play Burning Wheel.
Please don't kill someone.
No.
That's illegal. We promised, for legal reasons, that was a joke.
Yes. Our lawyers have informed me that was a joke.
Yeah, our lawyers have informed us that that was a joke.
We have a lot of things here. We do not have a legal team.
Yet.
Yet.
We are our legal team.
Yeah.
We Google laws and figured out from there. My parents are lawyers.
But
They
yeah.
can be our legal team.
It has the same base structure, and you can understand, like, attributes, the physical and mental attributes.
Yeah.
And skill checks. They're an expanded list of skills.
Yeah.
5e kind of streamlined it.
More
3.5 was crazy long.
I love skills.
Pathfinder's is a little less long, if memory serves.
Genuinely, I would be fine with having 1,000,000 skills on my sheet. I want it to be as specific as possible.
Then we gotta get you playing some generic systems.
Yeah, I love... Because the one time we did, like, the like, D20 Modern or whatever, they have more skills, and I liked that. That was nice. That was helpful for me to know exactly what to roll better.
Speaking of D20s, it is a base D20 system.
Yeah. Ooh.
It functions basically the same way as D&D as far as...
Dice system, yeah.
Yeah. Smaller dice for weapon damage, percentile for whatever the DM might call for. Yeah.
Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the rating section of things. So we're just gonna kind of launch into it. Obviously, this has a very heavy basis and some other things. What did you rate the concept here?
So, as I always say, concept is a 10 out of 10 is a perfectly original game that isn't too specific as to pigeonhole you into one specific thing. I give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Which, compared to 5e, I give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah. And there's obviously very derivative of that.
Yeah, so it is derivative of D&D as a whole, where any D&D edition we review is going to get a slight uptick on the concept meter, just because it was the originator, and I'm not punishing 5e for being an expansion of the original. I am docking Pathfinder here because it's largely the same concept.
Yeah.
The concept of adding more crunch into it, kind of going with the like to 3.5, I really like that, and that's why it gets just a little lower than 5e of D&D. But just conceptually, it's a fantasy RPG, kind of set in a... It has a baked-in setting, but you can play any sort of setting around it. There's not a lot to say on concept because it's very similar to D&D, it's just a slightly derivative of D&D.
Okay. Cost of entry. Is that higher or lower?
So, I gave cost of entry again, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
The cost of entry on the scale here, a 0 is horrible. A 0 is Warhammer.
A 0 is Warhammer. Awesome.
And a 10 is a free RPG you can get over. I give it a 9.
Okay. What was
So-
D&D's? Was that...
D&D,
was
to
it
compare
a
it to,
7?
was a 7, yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so this is a lot cheaper. That's good.
Yeah, so if you're playing Pathfinder, you can get away with buying one book.
Okay.
There are others, but it's not to the degree of D&D where they release all of these source books all the time. Wizards kind of cash cows it.
Yeah, which makes sense, because they can, and they may as well.
But
we live in a society.
You know, Paizo's more interested in getting their things out to the public, more interested in getting all of their stuff in one place.
Yeah.
And they might have less options.
Mm-hmm.
You know, right off the bat, but also their book is... You can get away with one book.
Yeah, which is about as good as it gets for a lot of things.
Yes, there are modules that you can buy. Looking right now, you know, the core rulebook is about the same price.
So it's about 50?
Yeah, about 50. Looking, it goes about 45 on Amazon.
Okay.
But
so at a baseline, you need to spend like $50 for shipping.
Yeah, but there are streamlined books here. I'm looking. They released a comprehensive guide that is like 640 pages.
Huh.
Look it up in my Humming and Hobbing as I load it. $60.
Okay.
About.
So for like another quarter of the price, you can get a bunch more stuff. That's not so bad. I would drop $60 on that.
There is also a bundle of all of the core rule books that they have. They have, looks like 5 of them. The core rulebook and 4 guides, Advanced Player's Guide, Game Mastered Guide, Advanced Race Guide, and Advanced Class Guide.
Okay.
You can buy that on Amazon for $100.
Okay.
5 books for $100.
Okay, well that's definitely like way better than 5e.
Yes.
So I think that definitely earns a 9.
Yeah. You know, it's not free, but it is...
But it's much cheaper than a lot of alternatives.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and I that is something that, you know, I am somewhat famously... I prefer 5e to Pathfinder. Yeah. But I respect the hell out of that choice.
Yeah.
To make it more accessible and make it easier to get, you know, they have 5 books and D&D has like 40.
Yeah.
And at time of writing, you know, I don't have a list of everything written. They could have more, aside from modules. But yeah, I respect how much content they try to jam into things.
Yeah.
Whereas you might get one new class or race for in a D&D book, 1 or 2 more.
Yeah. And some of them like none at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
You get so much content out of one Pathfinder book.
Yeah. So, I mentioned that the sheets in Pathfinder, I tried to make a Pathfinder character once, and it took me several hours and so much Googling that I don't think I actually ever finished the sheet. Did I finish it?
You finished one,
I finished one and I started on another one, and I was like, I'm not
made
finishing.
a Drow Dark Elf, I forget what Pathfinder calls it. Drow equivalent.
Yeah.
Fighter.
Was it a fighter? I thought it was magic.
No.
Did I not touch that?
You made the Drow equivalent fighter. And then you tried making a High Elf sorcerer.
Yes, because that was, you know.
Yeah.
That's it. We were emulating another character that I'd played in Pathfinder to kind of test it, and I was like, this is too complicated, and I stopped.
Yes. So, you bring that up, I assume, because of player ease.
Yes, player ease. How easy is it to play as a player? And the answer is, maybe it gets easier after character creation, but god, it is hard at the start, or it was for me. I had people there helping me with this character sheet, and it still took me several hours.
So, 8 out of 10, I put on D&Ds.
Okay.
And again, for a player entry, for a player ease standpoint, 10 out of 10 is you can teach it in an afternoon, and they will not have to ask for many rules clarifications.
Yeah.
So I have Pathfinder at a 7.
I don't know if I would agree with that. I think I might put it a little lower than that.
Let me explain why.
Okay, I'm listening.
I have Pathfinder at a 7, because it is hard to learn, but once you have it down...
Okay.
There's not a bunch of extra learning on top of that, you know?
Okay.
There are
So there's not a bunch of, like, really niche, weird mechanics and stuff?
No, especially not with the character creation side of things.
Okay.
once you have making a character down,
That's the hard part.
You can bring up a character in just slightly more time than it takes to make a 5e character.
Okay.
So
I just didn't have the practice necessarily.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's one of those things that it is hard to learn. But once you have that knowledge base,
you'll basically never need to learn anything half that complicated.
Hard to learn, easy to master, I would say.
Okay, cool. So there's a very steep beginning learning curve, and then it kind of levels out after that.
Yeah, and once you've kind of gotten the rules down, it's kind of similar to 3.5.
Yeah.
Where once you get these rules solidified, you're in a really good place.
Okay, that's fair. I think I agree with a 7 in that case. I think I will concede that to you.
Okay.
So GMEs, kind of on the other end of that spectrum. You said, we were talking about it earlier, 2E made it slightly easier for players and slightly harder for GMs.
So 1E would be, and I go back and forth. I have read 1E less.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna say that it would be significantly different.
Yeah.
It would probably be at about the same.
Okay.
So 5E is an 8 on GMEs. I put this at a 7, and I went back and forth on this rating several times. I had it as low as a 5 and as high as an 8.
Okay. You kind of settled a little bit in the middle with that.
Yes. Because it's very similar to characters.
Yeah.
Players.
Yeah.
Where once you master it, you've got it.
Mm-hmm. But there's a little more work on the front end to do that as a GM. Okay, that's fair. I think giving it the same score is fair because GMing and playing are different skill sets anyway.
Yes, there's a little more grind, a little more crunch. But once you have it, and especially if your brain is oriented in that way, where you love the crunch rules and the mechanics of rules, people talk about coming from 5e to Pathfinder. If you like the rules of something like Warhammer, you will love jamming Pathfinder.
Okay.
And
good to know.
It's not the craziest crunchy game. Once you have it down, there will be, like with D&D, corner case rules you don't know.
Yeah.
But the core mechanics, what you need to run a game, you can learn that your first read through of the book, I would say.
Okay.
If you take notes, if you internalize it, depending on how good you are at memorizing, sort of thing.
Okay.
And it is one of the things that, from my experience, gets easier to learn through play.
Okay. Well, that's also helpful, yeah. Okay. So, moving on from that, flexibility.
So, flexibility is largely talking about how many styles of games you can play in here. D&D, for example, got an 8. Once again, kind of meshing with the last thing, 7.
Okay. So we're kind of following a trend here.
Yes.
Just a little bit less flexible. Why is that?
So kind of inherently with the crunch. It is really hard. The crunchier a game is, the harder it is to flex into something else. Most of the mechanics in Pathfinder fall apart if you try to translate them to modern
a different
or
setting,
even sci-fi.
Okay.
And there are mods for the game, and the game is the creators are fairly helpful with the creators and community are fairly helpful with teaching how to mod Pathfinder properly.
Well, that's cool.
But it is hard to. It's not very easy to just scale up.
Okay.
I think we have done something before where we have played 5e in the universe of a television show we both enjoy.
Yes.
A fantasy-style TV show that isn't medieval fantasy.
Yes. Kind of like a modern urban fantasy sort of thing.
To dance around it. Ruby by Rooster Teeth is the show.
We have played something vaguely in a similar vein that is basically a homebrew world that I came up with that someday will be its own show.
We hope.
We hope. It'll happen. It'll happen eventually. That's what this channel is, to fund that project. That's what this is for.
All that money is getting funneled up to an animation project.
An animation project that was based on a D&D-esque game that we played once.
That's what we grind to produce 4 weeks of content in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Week and a half.
Yeah. With that being said, in 5e we could do that without adjusting the rules majorly. We could play...
Actually, it got simpler in
Yes.
a lot of ways. And in fairness, I standardized a bunch of rules. One of the things I did was, because this was a world where everyone should basically have the same power level, and it was superpowers instead of magic.
Yes.
That was the hard part, was mechanizing the superpowers. The easy part was saying everyone's weapon does 2d6 plus modifier, and everyone's AC is 16
Yes.
at a base level.
And doing that in 2e wouldn't be impossible.
But it'd be a lot harder.
Yes.
And especially if you're coming up with your own mechanics for something, like I was with powers, that gets harder in a setting that isn't designed for so much adaptability, and that has more rules.
Yes.
You have to work around more rules to build that in.
Yes. Okay. You would have to spend a significant amount of time modding it to change to any setting. But it's not so locked into its settings, you know. I love Powered by the Apocalypse games.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of them are so setting-specific, they are entirely inflexible.
Yeah.
Without significant modding.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you could do some modding with Pathfinder.
Okay.
But it's significantly harder than something like D&D.
Okay. Cool. So it gets a 7?
Yes.
So then variety, which those can kind of tie into each other a little bit.
Yeah, so 10 out of 10, actually, for variety.
Cool. And I agree with that, because D&D was pretty high.
Mm-hmm. D&D was 9.
Yeah, and I think this is fair, because we talked maybe even in that video a little bit about how this game kind of expands on a lot of the stuff that people liked. I think when I was reading about Pathfinder 2e, one of the things that they kind of talked about as the focal point of it was they didn't think that a lot of the classes had quite enough to them that made them interesting and multi-dimensional and useful in a lot of settings.
Yes.
And apparently that was kind of the big thing that they wanted to expand on here. Do you think that holds?
Yeah, 100%.
And that was what you said in the 5e video, was the classes could use a little more. So this is why.
Yeah. So they have definitely expanded on some of the classes, especially when they've released... Or not released, but especially, one thing I want to talk about, because I talked about it a little bit in the D&D video, the homebrew content for Pathfinder 2e is amazing.
Okay. Did they give you an easier format for that?
Yes. Okay. They open it up significantly. I'm not gonna 100% say that there is a guide to homebrew in the DM guide.
Yeah.
But if there isn't, there's something close.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the... Despite it being significantly less popular than D&D, and I say that as it is the top 5 popularity, it is. It has such a wide range of homebrew in it. And it's so easy to homebrew. Its homebrew content is comparable in size to D&D's. And
easier to make. Yeah.
And I'm actually just gonna list off some things here.
Okay.
And again, I don't have the Pathfinder book in front of me. I do have a website in front of me right now.
Okay.
So if this information is incorrect,
it's the website's fault, not ours.
But I'm gonna name the classes that come. Alchemist, Barbarian, Bard, Champion, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Gunslinger, Inventor, Investigator, Magus, Monk, Oracle, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Swashbuckler, Witch, Wizard.
Okay. There's some interesting stuff in there. I am now very, very curious as to what an Oracle is. We're not going to talk about that right now. There's some classes in there that I didn't know existed. Now I want to think about them more. And I recognize some of those as things that adapted. We talk about Critical Role on this channel a lot. It's kind of the gold standard example. I'm very into Critical Role, in theory. Less in practice because I don't have the attention span. But obviously they adapted from Pathfinder up to 5e, which sounds a little bit like a nightmare.
Yes.
Especially because of how much stuff kind of gets lost in translation between 3.5 and 5. But I recognize some stuff that probably got translated.
Yes. So one thing I want to say about Pathfinder, they have less character options, but more customizable characters, if that makes sense.
I want you to elaborate on that, because that doesn't make sense to me.
So, for, specifically referring to race.
Okay.
So, they don't have a limited range of races.
Yeah.
They have a fairly decent range, but it's lesser than D&D.
Okay.
Significantly less than D&D.
But D&D also goes weirdly specific with some of their stuff.
Yes, just for the sake of completion, I'll read off what they have.
Okay.
Catfolk, Dwarf, Elf, Gnome, Goblin, Halfling, Human, Half-Elf, Half-Orc, Kobold, Orc, Ratfolk, and Tengu.
Okay.
As well as, Changeling, Dampier, Aasimar, Duskwalker, Tiefling.
Cool. Okay. Well, that's fun.
And you kind of... it's very easy to mod these.
Yeah.
To work into whatever, which is why the homebrew content is so expansive for 2e. And I know 1e had a ton of races over the course of their run. So yeah, I would say, honestly, variety is 10 out of 10.
Okay.
It is so varied and so easy to kind of get there.
Okay, cool. So you said Pathfinder is a top 5, but it's also... I think this was in the video. We talked about how, like, 5e has, like, 500,000 Google searches, and the next highest had, like, 90k.
Yeah,
So where's Pathfinder on that list?
Let me pull it up, because I still have access to that list, I believe.
And if you don't have it, just, like...
I do.
Where are we at in comparison to
So, D&D is 500,000.
Yep.
Pathfinder is 40,000.
Okay.
Queries.
So, like, another, like, cutting at him from the second place. What place is it at? Is it
4.
Okay.
It is behind Shadowrun and Starfinder.
Okay, cool.
Which are, respectively, It is the second highest fantasy game.
Okay, cool.
Shadowrun is a cyberpunk game, and Starfinder is a sci-fi game.
Cool, okay.
So it is the second highest fantasy game, and it is the 4th highest RPG for popularity. So popularity-wise, again, a perfect game on a popularity score is D&D.
Yeah.
D&D is the only thing that will get a 10 until anything comes even vaguely close to challenging it.
Yeah.
It's an 8.
Okay.
I went back and forth between 8 and 9. I decided that you have to be closer to get a 9. I think Shadowrun is the only thing that will get above an 8. Shadowrun and 5e.
Okay. I think that's fair. With looking at the scaling on that definitely is fair.
It is fairly easy to find a game, but it is nowhere near as easy as 5e.
Yeah.
There are good Pathfinder communities. If you're in a Pathfinder-specific community, it's really easy to find a game. If you are in a RPG community,
it's a lot harder.
It's way harder.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's fair. I don't think there's a ton to say about that, just there's such a vast disparity there. I think an 8 is more than fair.
Yes.
I think an 8 gives it a lot of credence. Replay value.
Okay, so 10 out of 10.
Okay. Same that D&D had.
There are so many options, and the reason, replay value is something we talk about with video games a lot.
Yeah.
The reason it's here on an RPG review is there are some games that you've played them once or twice, and you or someone in your group has already played all of the class options.
Yeah.
You've seen all of the abilities and how they work. And you've seen most of what the setting has baked into it to offer.
Yeah,
and that is
you
not
kind of get
Pathfinder.
the gist.
Especially with the variety of Pathfinder
Yeah.
and the homebrew content that can be baked in. It's this well-made homebrew. You could play thousands of campaigns in Pathfinder and not see everything it has to offer you. Not see every rule, not see every creature.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really
phenomenally good to replay. D&D was also notably a 10 out of 10.
Yes. And then what would you put it on a scale of 1 to 10 for fun?
So, 5e, and I'm sorry
Subjective.
to the 2e fans that I keep comparing everything to 5e, but I think it's relevant to note.
I mean, it is, yeah, and we're kind of comparing everything to 5e.
Yes.
In some ways.
Listen, it is... If you try to argue that D&D is not currently the king of role-playing games, that's not a good faith argument.
No, it's not.
And that's not to say D&D 5e... Not to say D&D 5e is the best role-playing game.
No. And certainly not for everything.
But it's king of the mountain.
Yes.
It is the most popular role-playing game in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, comparing the two, D&D got a 9.
Yeah.
I gave Pathfinder an 8 because I, personally, am not into crunch.
Okay. And I think if you're into crunch, that score might be different for you. Like we've said, fun is the most subjective thing on this list.
If you are a player who loves crunch, consider fun a 10 out of 10.
Okay.
If you are a player who cannot stand crunch, consider it like a 4.
Okay, yeah. So we gotta get the middle ground.
Yeah.
A little toward the more fun end. Okay.
Yes, I think it's a blast. I think once you learn it, and I would have to relearn it because it's been a long time since I played Pathfinder dedicatedly.
Yeah.
Coming from 3.5, which is, I don't know if mentioned on this series before, the first game I ever played.
Mm-hmm. I think you said that. Maybe not on this series.
Yeah. Somewhere on the channel I mentioned 3.5 is the first RPG I ever played. I can pick up Pathfinder. It's a great time. I played 3.5 with my friends for years before discovering 5e.
Mm-hmm.
Before 5e kind of came out, even.
Yeah.
and I had a fantastic time, and I can still have a fantastic time with this. I prefer more streamlined, more rules light. It's harder to get people into it that are coming from 5e or that are coming from nothing. But once you get that group and once you get that rhythm, it's such a good time.
Okay, I think that's more than fair. And then quality is the last one.
8 out of 10.
Okay.
D&D was also an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, they're pretty similar.
Yeah, books are published well. There's not really notable typos.
Mm-hmm.
They're printed hardcover.
Yeah.
Good quality material. There are some balance issues.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a lot of issues with minutia.
Okay.
Where, D&D, I pointed out that a lot of what D&D prints is unbalanced.
Yeah.
Horribly.
Yeah.
And it's not that bad with Pathfinder. Pathfinder's balancing is fairly good. There are some things that lean a little broken or a little weak.
Yeah.
But there was nothing as bad as, for example, 5e's base player handbook Ranger.
Yeah.
In 2e.
Okay.
What it comes down to is the book does itself no favors helping navigate the crunch.
That's fair.
There are so many times where you could write little aside paragraphs, little, sidebar bubbles.
Mm-hmm. That help you explain exactly how it works or something.
Streamline or layman's terms.
Yeah.
Something, and
they don't do that.
For whatever reason, elect not to.
Okay. I think that's fair. I think that's a perfectly fair reason to dock points.
And people might criticize us docking quality on that, but I think the more understandable your book, the better.
Yeah. I agree. And quality is specifically designed for, quality of base knowledge.
Not the quality, and to remind...
Not the quality of the setting, the quality of the material that allows you access to that setting.
When we talk about quality, we're referring to the books and the material you can buy for this.
Yeah. It's nothing about the setting, it's nothing about the gameplay. It's
not
about
saying...
how accessible the materials themselves are.
It's not saying the game quality is 8 out of 10, it's that the books and material quality is 8 out of 10.
Okay, and then where does that leave us?
So,
I checked your math.
Yes.
What's our math? How does that add up?
So, D&D was an 85
out
of 100.
Yep.
Pathfinder 2e is an 81.
Which is very, very close.
Yes.
And the only reason it really gets any lower, I think, is because of that crunch.
Yes.
And like we said, if you love crunch, it might be higher than 5e.
If you cannot get enough crunch, consider it a 90.
Okay.
Is what I'll tell you to.
Cool. Interesting. Okay.
If you are, I think an average RPG fan likes a little crunch, but doesn't like to get in minutia.
Okay.
If you love crunch, consider Pathfinder 2e a 90.
Okay.
And if you love crunch, play it instead of 5e, is what I will just blanketly say.
Okay.
I am not that way.
No, I'm not really either. I'm tolerant of crunch to a decent degree.
I am, again, my favorite RPG is Burning Wheel. I have to be a little bit tolerant of crunch.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about that one soon, too. Stay tuned for that.
But, at the same time, there's minutia, and it's hard to get into, and it's a hell of a read at points.
And it's a complicated start.
Yes. Complicated start, smooth after you learn it.
Okay, yeah.
So it's an 81 for me.
Okay. And it could go anywhere from, if you really, really hate crunch, it'd probably be a little lower.
70, I would say.
So anywhere from a 70 to a 90, depending on your preferences for crunch.
But
which
for
is
me,
a very large margin, but that's kind of how it is.
For me, and for a kind of average role-playing game fan, I'd put it an 81.
Okay.
And reminder, that's not a reflection of how much I like the game.
Yeah. None of these are reflections of how much we like the game, necessarily.
Burning Wheel will famously not be higher than 5e and not be higher than Pathfinder.
But it is one of your favorites.
It is literally my favorite game, yes.
Okay.
I'm
excited to review that one because I know a lot less about that than either of these, and you know a lot more.
Yeah. And notably, I hate Shadowrun, and it scores higher than games I like a lot.
Yeah. It's not a matter of personal preference, we're trying to be as objective as possible.
Yes.
Even with subjective ranking meters.
Yes. And I know it's kind of difficult to say, I hate Shadowrun. I've tried playing it, and I've never enjoyed playing Shadowrun in my life. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about why you don't like it and why someone else might, which, again, from what I understand, a lot of that is the crunch factor.
Yes.
And if you like Shadowrun, you might be mad at how we rank it compared to even Pathfinder. Who knows?
But we have a big board.
We do.
So, currently, it would be in second place.
Right.
Just below D&D 5e, which is an 85. Sitting at an 81, which is currently last place, but it will not stay last place.
No, it will not.
Certainly not when our Bad RPG month comes up.
Bad RPG month. That's April of 2023.
Yes.
It's September 2022 as of uploading this, which you can probably see if you check the video date on the video.
So that's Pathfinder 2e. Do you disagree? Are you a primarily Pathfinder player?
Yeah.
Please let us know in the comments.
I want to hear Pathfinder stories. I want to hear about your Pathfinder characters, because I want to see how well I can do to make them again.
There will be a poll in the description if you want to see us play Pathfinder 2e on our actual play channel.
Yeah.
And if you'd like that to be long form or short form Pathfinder
content. You could put that
content.
on your Twitter. You could put a Twitter poll.
Yeah. Beyond that, it's really easy if you're coming from Pathfinder to...
Or coming from 3.5.
Dislike this video.
Oh.
And just say, hey, I don't agree with you. I don't think you know what you're talking about. I think, I've heard.
I don't know what I'm talking about. You're fine
I've heard people say that Pathfinder 2e. I've heard people say Pathfinder 2e is not crunchy at all, which fundamentally I disagree with.
Okay.
But if you think that, tell me why. If you think I'm wrong on any of these, if you would have scored it differently.
Yeah. And that goes for all of these. Tell us your thoughts on our rankings.
Yeah.
Post your own rankings in the comments.
I'd love to hear
scores that we get.
We'll put the categories.
Yeah, we'll put them in the description. You can rank them yourselves and put them in the comments.
Yeah. What I want to have more than anything, you can listen to me talk. It's my job to talk about RPGs. I want to have a discussion. In the comments with you.
Yeah. And we'll read as many of the comments as we can, and we will reply to some of the comments if we have the time. I would like to reply to a lot of your comments.
Yeah, and if you're in a position where you want to talk at further length, tweet at me at the Penitent at _Penitent COL.
Yeah. We have an official Twitter, but tweet at her because you know what you're talking about more than I do.
And we can talk about game design and about how your opinion might differ, or how things you might agree, and things that you might have thought I did well.
Yeah.
If you are kind of looking at this to learn how to play Pathfinder, you can leave questions in the comments, and we'll get to them.
Yeah. So with that said, that was episode 2 of RPG Review. The next one we're going to be talking about Burning Wheel next, right?
Yep.
So everyone look forward to that. When that gets uploaded, it should be uploaded around a week from this one's upload date, somewhere in that time frame. So look out for that.
An upload schedule in our description. We have 2 other channels.
Yes.
We have College of Lore Actual Play,
where
we play long-form D&D content. All our videos are about an hour. We upload daily there as well.
Yep. And then we're going to have College of Lore Shorts, which is YouTube shorts that are themed around D&D.
We upload there twice a day.
Yes.
So
we are busy. Please engage with us. We're trying so hard.
Subscribe to our family of channels. We upload 4 videos a day.
Yep. Some of them are a lot shorter than the other ones.
And, we intend to make more methods on getting advertisements, getting sponsorship deals, and getting a Patreon set up.
Yep. We will let you all know when that happens via Twitter and also probably a YouTube announcement.
Yeah, so with that being said, if you want to help us do this full-time, produce even more content.
Yep.
We are very fortunate.
Yeah.
Because of a lot of luck and a lot of work to be able to do this as a part-time job.
We would love to do it as a full-time job.
Yes.
And hang out with you guys even more. That will give us more time to engage with you, more time to engage with your comments and your questions and all of that, so let us know.
The one thing I'll say if we can turn this to a part-time job that I will promise you all now is live streaming of games.
Yes. On the actual play channel.
Yes.
And we will upgrade some stuff here. And we will see. You said that we're going to start doing iceberg videos once we get to 1,000 subscribers.
Yes. So that's one of the things.
That is true.
I just found out, and I am so angry about this.
Yeah.
I have written my own D&D iceberg.
Yes.
I have, a vague scripting for a first video ready. 1,000 subscribers, and I will start uploading that iceberg. I found out yesterday, to the day of recording, the first ever D&D iceberg video on YouTube got uploaded.
No!
And I am so angry about it.
No!
It is not my iceberg. I didn't post my iceberg anywhere. My iceberg will be different than that video.
Yeah.
And no hate to that creator.
No, we're just sad that we didn't get to it first. Yeah. So if you want to see it as soon as possible so we can beat out everybody else...
Yes.
Get us to 1,000 subscribers!
Nobody's iceberg will look like mine, is what I'll say.
Yeah, you have your whole own thing.
Yep.
Alright, so, that's everything. We love you guys.
Yep, take care of your mental health.
And talk to us, because we love talking to people.
Thank you for watching this video from College of Lore. Remember to like this video, subscribe to join the party, and have a fantastic adventure.